Happy day to all. Today we are going to start the topic, how do organisms reproduce? So first we should know what is reproduction. So the process, reproduction is nothing but the process by which a living organism, they reproduce their own new organism similar to them or similar to themselves. And why is reproduction necessary? So you might be thinking why it should be required. Like earlier chapter, we have learned about the life processes as well as control and coordination. We know we have learned about our heart or about the brain. So how it acts. So here reproduction, whether it is necessary. Yes, it is necessary for the species of retain the a particular species of living organism, it is necessary, and also the characters can be transmitted from one generation to the next generation, and also there are variation that takes place to lead towards a new species formation. And next we should see what is the significance of variation. That is nothing but accumulation of these small slight changes, or we call it as the variation over a period of time, will give rise to a new species formation, and this helps in the survival of a new species over a time. To move forward, we should know what are the different types of reproduction. So the two different types of reproduction, it is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. So asexual reproduction, where a single parent is required to reproduce their own new organism, and there is no sexual involvement there. The second type of reproduction, it is the sexual mode of reproduction, where it involves two parents are involved, and what takes place, the fusion of the male gamete from the father and then the female gamete from the mother, they fuse to form a new organism, and here sexual activity is involved. First we should move on to the asexual type of reproduction. So I said, what is asexual reproduction? The mode of reproduction in which a new individual are being formed from a single parent, and new individuals, they will be similar or identical. What do you mean by identical? It is they seems without any change, same manner, like a twins, so they will be identical, and the reproduction is very fast. That's why we call it as faster mode of reproduction. What are the different types of asexual reproduction that we should see now? So the first one, it is the division process, like fission, budding, regeneration, fragmentation, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. So we will see what it is. So the first one is fission, where in lower classes you would have learned about binary fission, multiple fission, and so on. So here we are going to see the two different types of fission. One is binary fission and multiple fission. An organism which splits into two or more individuals, we call it as a fission. And binary fission, where two new individuals are being formed, where a nucleus starts its division first. So the nuclear elongation of nucleus takes place, which results in the split of nucleus, and a constriction, a small constriction is formed, and that constriction deepens, dividing the cell into two equal daughter cells and forming two new organisms. So same way here, the binary fission that takes place in leishmania, the nucleus, elongation of nucleus can be seen, which shows the starting of fission, binary fission, and that divides, the nucleus will divide into two, and slowly a constriction will be formed. That constriction deepens, dividing the cell into two new cells which act as two new organisms later. So the next one, which propagation, is the budding process, where new individuals are formed as an outgrowth of a parent. The daughter separates away and the parent continues to exist. So some of the example they are here I have given: yeast cells as well as budding in hydra. So at the base of the hydra, a small protrusion takes place, and that elongates, forming small hair-like tentacles, and a small mouth will be formed. Once that has been formed, the bud will get disconnected from the parent hydra, and when it falls on a suitable substratum, it sticks to that and develop into a new organism. So the next type, it is fragmentation. Or what do you mean by fragments? The term itself says splitting. The parent will try to break into multiple pieces when they mature, and each of which will give rise to a new organism or a new individual. And it is seen in simple multicellular organism, not in unicellular organism, which is a multicellular organism. So such fragmentation process take place. So here you can see the filament, the spiral filament, which gets, when it is cut into pieces, each filament will develop into a new organism, new individual, we should say. Next, it is regeneration. So regeneration, you all would have seen, that is a lizard cutting away its tail when it has been that is experienced by a fear or an enemy, and so on. So if a grown-up organism cut or get broken down into multiple pieces which give rise to a new individual, we call such process as regeneration. Regeneration cannot be seen in all organisms. In few organisms like tapeworm, flatworms, also in hydra, and it can be an accidental process also. By accident, it can get cut into 3 parts, and all the 3 parts will start producing the remaining part, and it can lead an independent organism or individual. So the next type is the spore formation, where a new individual is being formed by the germination of spores, and they have unicellular bodies which is present in the parent body, which are capable of developing into a new individual, and that small powder-like structures, we call them as spores, and it can withstand any drastic climatic conditions. So next, we need to pass on to the vegetative propagation, where mode of asexual reproduction that takes place in plants when they are detached from the parent plant to form a new plant. And it is of 2 types, or we can categorize into 2. One, it is in a natural manner or natural vegetative propagation, and the other one is an artificial vegetative propagation, where natural vegetative propagation is being formed by root, stem as well as leaves, whereas the artificial vegetative propagation, it is being performed by cutting, layering, grafting, tissue culture, etc. So first we will see how it happens in roots. So you can see, you would have seen tapioca or ginger or sweet potato, where on the root part you can see small bud-like structure seen on the root part. And when we cut that fleshy root part and then plant it, it develops into a new plant, and we call it as propagation by roots. An example, It is guava, sweet potato, dahlia, etc. Next, it is by stem, where the underground stems are being used for propagating a new organism or new plants. Next, it is by means of leaves, where buds are formed along the leaf margin. So buds are being formed along the leaf margin. Bryophyllum is an example for that, which that is a bud. When it falls from that mother leaf and it falls on a suitable substratum, it can develop into a new plant. Thank you.